For the next race we have featured, we're going to actually have the candidate and a representative from the other candidate come up. So we'll be able to use our two-table system here, this nice fancy thing. For House District 4 for Pennsylvania, Jason Owens, and representing Ryan Bizzarro, Ms. Kathy Fatika. Okay, we're going to share this one.
All right.
We're going to go right with the first question, and then you'll have it, okay? Jason, do you support legislation that would amend the Pennsylvania Human Relations Act, the Commonwealth Civil Rights Law, to include sexual orientation and gender identity or expression as protected classes?
Yes. However, no one in this room should accept yes as the answer for that question. And let me tell you why. Every day, as an attorney, bankruptcy attorney and family law attorney, I fight for equality and I fight for equal rights for my clients. Doesn't matter what stripes of life they come from. Under the law in Pennsylvania, we need to absolutely provide equality. So if someone comes up here and tells you that their answer is yes, it's not good enough. They need to do more. They need to be a co-sponsor of that legislation, and that's what I'm willing to do.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. This community has endorsed my husband, Councilman Fatika, and we're very, very grateful to be able to be here on behalf of candidate Ryan Bizzarro. I asked my husband to give me some insight into the issues with the Human Relations Commission in Erie County. And I was not aware of this. Talked with Ryan extensively about it, but I found out that Erie County has forbidden discrimination based upon sexual orientation in the county of Erie. And between here and Allegheny County, there is no other county that has such statutes in their Human Relations Commission. So it is absolutely, positively the most important piece that can be taken care of with PA legislation at the state level to correct this problem.
Thank you, Kathy. Turning back to you, Jason. Do you support legislation that would amend the Title 18 Ethnic Intimidations Act to define crimes against individuals based on actual or perceived ancestry, mental or physical disability, sexual orientation, gender or gender identity as ethnic intimidation or hate crimes?
Again, I'm going to give you another similar answer to that one. The answer is yes. And aside from the issues that, hate crimes legislation in general does have some constitutional issues that are out there that concern folks. And it is an issue out there that can strike these good-minded bills down for no good reason whatsoever. However, again, I would let you know that I have knocked and called on 10,000 doors throughout the 3rd Legislative District, which is Mill Creek, McCain, Waterford, Franklin Township, and a part of Fairview. And as I've talked to those folks and found out what's on their mind, because that's really the only way one can be a representative, one can be a legislator that can represent their district and be a strong, independent voice for their district. They need to know what's on their constituents' minds. And that's why, again, it's not good enough to answer the question yes, or to answer the question with a vague support. You need to be a co-sponsor of this legislation. That is critically important. And here's the other interesting aspect that I provide in this race. First of all, I'm willing to show up to the events that are important to all sorts of different communities. I've knocked on all these doors. I've made all these phone calls. It is important to be representative and to be participatory. There's no other way that you can be a representative if you don't show up. Furthermore, on this issue specifically, you need to find someone who can speak a different language. Because the Democratic Party line, as everyone in this room knows, the answer is yes to that question. You need someone who can also speak in the Republican language. I'm a Republican. I speak Republican. Sometimes I speak so much Republican, I speak libertarian, which is about getting people out of our bedrooms and out of our boardrooms and out of our pocketbooks and out of our church pews and out of our doctor's offices. And that's the type of Republican I am. I'm as much a libertarian as I am a Republican. And we need the government out of our issues as much as possible. But when we talk about competition, when we talk about being the beacon of the cradle of democracy, when we're talking about the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, we have a higher standard here. We absolutely have a higher standard. And we need to be able to say to folks, come to Pennsylvania to grow your business, to invest your resources, to provide family-sustaining jobs. The disconnect with that, however, is that we need a workforce here. We need the best and the brightest employees here to fill those jobs when we make Pennsylvania so competitive that people are coming here to invest their resources. And the only way that we can do that is through increased basic education funding, as well as providing equality throughout the land for all of our people, whether it's discrimination laws, whether it's hate crime laws, across the land. Who wants to come to a Commonwealth where they're not treated as an equal? And that's why the answer in this has to be, I show up and I say co-sponsorship.
And when Brian Bizzaro and I discussed this question, again, the answer is absolutely yes. And although it's absolutely imperative that this is handled at the state level, there's so much more that can be done early on with education. Ryan, he was a behavioral specialist with the school district City of Erie, and he was involved very strongly with the anti-bullying program. Now this is something that is very near and dear to my heart and my family's heart, because we have a nephew who has been working very, very hard and giving of his time with the Live Out Loud and the Trevor Project, and has involved other Broadway performers that he's with, so he's given of himself. So these things, absolutely, the hate crimes have to stop, but education, looking and putting money and funding into it at an early stage to make sure that the bullying stops and that we open up avenues where we can educate so that there can be fairness for all.
Jason, what else would you like to let gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgendered voters and their families, friends, and supporters concerned about our issues know about you?
What you should know about me is that I've knocked or called on 10,000 doors. I have been out in the community and talked to so many different folks of so many different stripes. And I have heard the issues and the concerns, the unfairness that is perceived and that is realized. And we need someone who is going to be a strong, independent voice, a strong, independent leader, fighting for Erie County down in Harrisburg. I talk about being able to speak a different language on some of these issues, and I'm very proud of that because I am the only Republican in the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania who's been endorsed by Equality Pennsylvania. The only Republican in the entire Commonwealth who has been endorsed. I understand these issues. I will fight for these issues. These are all of our issues. These are basic fairness issues. It's surprising how easy it can be to take a lead on something, to be a co-sponsor on something like these issues, because this is basic fairness. This is basic equality. This is a no-brainer. And as I've been knocking on these doors and talking with folks, that's what I hear. And I tell them I have experience with this every day in bankruptcy court, in family law. I work with similar issues, related issues, and I fight for equal protection for my clients. And you know, I give a lot of credit to Kathy and her husband Phil because they are dedicated community servants, and I'm grateful that I'm not running against Kathy. I'm grateful that I'm not running against Phil because they have proven their dedication to this community over the years. and I'm proud to call them friends, and I look forward to shaking hands after tonight and again after the election's over with. But when it comes to these issues, you have to show up. You have to be participatory. And I'm glad I've got the opponent I do have, because I can contrast that there is a strong independent leader that will fight for Erie County and all of our residents. And I'd encourage you to check out our debate. It was taped last Thursday night at the Jefferson Society. It will air this Wednesday on NBC, Channel 12 at 7 o'clock. It's about half an hour, 45 minutes. They might add some commercials and make it a full hour. There's a clear contrast in this race, and I offer that up to you to get more information about us. Go to our websites. Mine is votejasonowen.com. You can imagine I forgot my opponent's website. And so check out my website and see what I talk about, and find out where I am on other issues that are important to you. Find out more about my history and biography. I've born and raised in Erie County, and I got a lot to say, as you can tell tonight. And I can keep going, but I'll let you do that on your own research. And then after you check out the websites, be sure to check out the debate so you can see the clear contrast in who you want to be the next representative for the 3rd Legislative District. So thank you.
And again, my husband and I are very proud to be able to represent Ryan Bizzarro. We strongly feel that this is the person that will be the best representative we have in Harrisburg. We need to make sure that Erie County is well represented. Ryan has a unique perspective, that he has a lot of bipartisan support, and that gives him the opportunity to be able to reach across the aisles and bring forth the right legislation for this area. I'm a nurse, and whenever I think about how I'm going to make the right decision, I think about my patient or client as whether that were a brother, a spouse, a child. And the decision that I make then is very easy. You just do the right thing. And that's one thing that Ryan Bizzarro also will look at. He will look at what and how the legislation will affect the people that he cares about, and he'll make the right decision. With regard to something else that, or anything else that I want you to know about him, and this is a conversation that Ryan and I had recently. Ryan too, just like Ms. Eaton explained, wants to expand the role of civil unions so that there is legal recognition. And if you don't mind, I jotted down some of the notes so I would not miss anything that Ryan had wanted me to talk about on this. And that's regarding partners being able to be covered by an employee's health system, health insurance. Also, to be able to provide those partners, God forbid, should they need bereavement time. Also, to permit partners to be recognized as next of kin when, and this is something that's near and dear to me with regard to my health field, making sure someone is legally recognized as next of kin so they can make decisions regarding health and end-of-life decisions. And also, the thing that Ms. Eaton had discussed, allowing both partners to be able to choose if that's what they want, to be legally parents for their children, and the other government issues that that Ms. Eaton did bring up. Those are all things that providing legal recognition and expanding the role of civil unions would bring to this community. I know that Ryan Bizzarro is the right person, and if you would need additional information, you can find information on Ryan at pastaterep.com. Ryan was at an energy resource thing that had been previously planned well in advance, and he apologized. He was going to try to pop in for at least a little bit, but the best laid plans. So I hope I did a good job representing him, and I want to thank you for allowing me this time.
Sure. Are you going to be
question.
little while. Do you want me to open it up?
Sure.
I was
Oh,
gonna-
I'm
I was
fine
gonna-
with that.
Okay, you sure?
If that's all right, yeah.
Okay.
That
Okay. I was gonna just have you take notes and have Brian roll.
That's exactly.
Do it that way?
Well, if there were questions that.
If there's
people
questions
had
from the floors,
that
we
I
can-
can't answer because.
We can take questions from the floor for both candidates. If there's not a question that Kathy can immediately answer, she will take down your information and have Ryan contact you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay? Judy, I see your hand up. Who's your question for?
My question is actually this. I want to know, since you're the only one in your party that feels this way, what experience do you have working across the aisle with other folks that you can actually accomplish?
That's a great question. If you didn't hear, what experience do I have reaching across the aisle, working with other folks? And I'm proud to say that I started in politics with Governor Tom Ridge and with our deceased District Attorney Brad Folk and with State Senator Jane Earl. These are the three Republicans that I grew up with. These were this is my congressman, my governor, my district attorney, my state senator, my lieutenant governor candidate when Jane ran for higher office, and when she sought the nomination for the higher court too. Those three folks had so many things in common that I really valued. First, they all had law degrees. And I said, if I'm ever going to go into politics, that's the kind of Republican I want to be. I want to be like those three people. And so that's why I went to law school. That was a lot of my motivation, aside from the fact that I wanted to be able to fight for equality and make sure that people were represented well under the law. And so there's a disconnect. I talk about this a lot. You'll hear this in the debate. You'll hear this in any conversation you have with me. There's a disconnect between Erie and Harrisburg, and there is a serious lack of leadership. We need folks to stand up and fight for Erie County. And when I talk about the disconnect, there's a lot of partisanship throughout the Commonwealth. Michael and I were talking earlier that, in certain parts, it's a stark contrast and a stark line. But that's not the case here. In Erie County, we expect more from our politicians, from our public servants, from our government employees. We expect you to reach across the aisle and do what's best for the community. We don't want you to represent a party. We don't want you to represent or toe the line. We want you to represent us. And that's what I learned from Jane Earl, Brad Folk, and Tom Ridge, is that you work with other people to do what is best. You do the right things for the right reasons. And that's the type of Republican I am. And if you don't believe that, look at my track record. Look at the people that I've supported. Look at the people whose yard signs have been in my yard. Look at the campaigns that I've interned on, that I've worked for. Those are the types of people that I want to make sure we get elected. And folks know that. And it's clear that I'm not a party hack, that I won't toe the party line, which is why I had a primary opponent. I had someone in the primary against me because I wasn't Republican enough. And so when you look at my host committee, when you look at my campaign committee, when you look at the folks that are helping us out, when you look at the yard signs that are out there, don't be surprised if you see Owen and Wiley next to each other. Don't be surprised if you see Owen and Obama next to each other. I'm a different kind of Republican. I'm a strong, independent leader, steeped in the tradition of Brad Folk, Tom Ridge, and Jane Earl. And that's what I bring to the table.
Thank you. Any other questions for either candidate or representative? Thank you for your time, Jason.
Thank you.